Hi everyone, it's Shamsa and welcome back to another video. Now today I'm going to show you how to make a simple, uncomplicated beef Seekh Kebab recipe. This video includes top tips on how to make juicy and tender kebabs that don't break or fall off skewers, so make sure you watch right till the end. Now before we run through what you need, please make sure you support the channel by subscribing and turning on your bell notifications. So let's start. So the ingredients you're going to need is as follows. So we have here beef mince that I'm using because these are beef Seekh Kebabs. Now what you want to remember is when you're making these kebabs, you want at least minimum 15% fat in there, which this has. 20% would be ideal, but if you don't get 20% fat in your beef, then 15 is fine. If you have very lean beef mince, then what I would recommend is add, some extra fat to it, like some butter, and just mix that through to make that fat content in there, because what's going to happen is the kebabs are going to be really dry, and that's what you don't want. So you want moist and juicy kebabs. So again, ingredients that you have readily available at home. You've got fresh coriander, we've got fresh mint leaves. I've got here some green chilies. Now I'm just using finger chilies. I've got 4 of them. This recipe is a medium spiced kebab recipe, so add however many you want. You can even remove them out if you really wanted to, but all depends on how hot your chilies are and who's eating them, obviously. So I've got here some white onion, and I've got some whole spices that we're going to be adding into this. I've got coriander seeds and cumin seeds, and here I've got fresh garlic and ginger. Now the key here is to basically have very little water or moisture in the kebabs. So I've chopped my garlic finely and I've also grated my ginger and squeezed out any excess water in there, so this is dry. And for the spices, again, simple ingredients: salt, homemade garam masala, dry chili flakes, and freshly cracked black pepper. And that's all you need, and a little bit of oil to form your kebabs. So let's start cooking. Right, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to dry toast our spices. So I've got my pan on the hob. My heat setting is on a low for my gas hob, and I'm going to add my cumin seeds in and my coriander seeds, and we're going to just keep them moving in this pan to give it dry heat, and we're going to do this for about 2 to 3 minutes. And what will happen is that they'll start to turn slightly golden brown in color, and they'll start releasing a lovely aromatic aroma. And once you know that that aroma is coming through, that they'll be ready. Right, okay, so this is now ready. So you want to turn your hob off, and you want to set these aside in a plate to cool down, and after cooling we're going to grind them down to a fine powder. Right, so whilst the whole spices are cooling down, I'm going to continue to the next stage of the recipe, which is to grind these ingredients down that we've got here. So to a food processor, I'm going to add my onion, my green chilies straight in, my mint leaves. Now if you're wondering how much there is here, it's just a good handful. As you can see, there's no accurate measurements as such, so just add that in, and if you add a little bit more, it doesn't really make a difference, so just don't worry about that. Right, so just pop the lid on, and now using the pulse function on your food processor, you're going to chop this down. And what you want to remember is you want to chop it and not to grind it all the way down so it becomes mush. So give it a couple of pulses, and then remove the lid, scrape down the sides, and keep doing that until you've got that chopped consistency. So we're going to do that. So take it off, scrape down. Oh, those chilies are hot. They've just hit me at the back of my throat. Started to salivate already. So just pop the lid back on again and again, and that looks good. And once you've done this, take them and squeeze out any excess moisture that's in there. You don't want any water in that. Please make sure you wear gloves when you do this, otherwise if you've got any cuts that you don't know about, you'll find out. So yeah, I'm gonna go off and do that, and then I'm just gonna set that aside, and then we'll carry on with the recipe. And once the water has been squeezed out, this is how it looks. So it's nice and dry. Right, so I've got my beef mince here, and I'm going to add my onion mixture straight in. The spices that we dry toasted and I've ground to a powder. Just make sure you get all of that out. Smells so good. The rest of the spices, the garlic and the ginger. And now you want to mix this really well. And what you want to do is mix it and knead it for about 3 to 4 minutes. And what that's going to do is that's going to create like a lacy thread-like consistency with the fat that we've got inside it. Just keep kneading and I'll show you that. You'll be able to see that. In Punjabi Urdu we call this a resha, which means a thread-like consistency. And that's what you're looking for, because that'll help the kebabs to form and not break. So you see there, that thread-like consistency, that's the fat. And that is what's going to help form these kebabs. And now what I'm going to do is cover this and just set this aside for 30 minutes before we form our kebabs, and I'm going to show you how to do that. So I'll meet you guys back in 30 minutes time. Right, so 30 minutes have passed, and what I normally like to do is I like to portion my kebabs out. So each portion is roughly the same size. So this recipe will give you 10 kebabs. Take a little bit and just put it to the side until you have equal amounts of meat. So there you are, there's my kebabs portioned off. So now let me show you how to make them. Now you can make kebabs however you want. Now, one thing to remember is you want to oil your hand before you start making them, which will help you give shape to the kebab. And I'm going to take a little bit of oil, and this is just neutral oil that I'm using here, in a plate, and I'm just going to grease my hand and take your mixture, and you want to knead that in your hand until you've got an oblong shape. And I've got a wooden skewer here to put that straight through, or if you've got metal ones, even better, and just shape your kebabs. This is probably the easiest way to make them. So you want the kebab to be around 5 to 6 inches long, and that is it. You can leave them on the skewers, or you can take them off, which I'm going to do because I'm going to show you how to pan fry them. But if you were making them on the barbecue, then you can just leave them as they are and just take them straight to a barbecue. And I'm just going to continue making all of mine, and then I'll show you how to fry them. And there you have it. I've made all of my Seekh kebabs all ready to be fried. So let me just move my camera over to my hob. Right, so I've got my pan on the hob. It's the same pan that I used to dry toast our whole spices. And I've got my heat setting, which is currently a medium for my hob. And I'm going to go in with approximately 3 tablespoons of oil, and you want that nice and hot, and then gently add your kebabs in there, and you don't want to overcrowd them, so just remember that. Right, so once you pop your kebabs in, you don't want to touch them, you don't want to move them. Allow them to cook on that side for approximately a minute or so. You don't want to be moving them around too much, otherwise they'll break. And they'll take approximately 6 to 7 minutes to cook. So after a minute or so, we're going to turn them around. Right, let's go in and check the first one that went in. That looks good. And then that one. Look at that beautiful colour. And about 6 to 7 minutes later, you can see that they're nice and browned on all sides. So I'm just going to take these out and just set them aside on a plate. Going to continue frying the rest of them. And there you have it, guys. My beef Seekh kebabs are all ready. Please make sure you try the recipe out and let me know in the comments below how you find it.